Some of the major differences between NCAA Division 1 and NCAA Division 3. Welcome back to another AHA video. This has been a topic that we get DM'd about so often, and you know what? We figured we might as well make a video for you. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the main differences between NCAA D1 and NCAA D3. Obviously, we can go on and make a 2-hour long video about this. There's some personal opinions, there's some statistical opinions, some facts, some, experiences between colleagues. We're just going based on some of the major ones that have been discussed by clients, by players, by coaches, and by scouts. So again, if you don't agree about this, if you think of other points, if you have a difference of opinion, that's okay. Everybody sees the two of them very differently depending on the facts and depending on the criteria you're looking at. So today we're going to go over 4 of them. The first one we're going to look at is the caliber of play between Division 1 and Division 3. Now, obviously, there are some players playing Division 3 that could easily play Division 1. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough space, so they got pushed down. They were those bubble guys that were probably good enough for the low-end D1s, but because of, whatever, they had a bad year, they were too late to the game, they didn't have an advisor, whatever you want to say, they fell to D3. But now if we're going to go versus average, there is a gap between the caliber of players, right? Most players that played D1 before this season were coming from high-end Junior A programs. BCHL, AJHL, NUL, USHL, high-end leagues that are not easy to get into. And you have to remember that these D1 programs, every single one of them has eyes from the NHL. Yes, every single program, from the bottom all the way to the top. The caliber of players that were there are the best 18 to 26-year-olds that haven't signed pro yet. They are playing college hockey, and they're all going D1, whereas D3 was getting guys from mid to low end Junior A and Junior B or Tier 3. They were going to get guys from those leagues, and again, good hockey players, very good hockey players, because getting to Division 3 is not easy. It is still difficult to get there, but it's not the same level as the Junior A guys that were going D1. Now with the new rule, the majority of D1 will be the CHL and the USHL. The 3 CHL leagues and the USHL will be the majority of Division 1 commits moving forward. D3 will get much stronger because they're now going to go get those top Junior A guys that unfortunately didn't play major juniors, or whether they weren't good enough, bad timing, whatever the reason may be. We will see a lot more guys from the AJ, the BC, the MJ, the NUL going D3 over D1, which will make the caliber much stronger in the coming years. Now, if you compare, NCAA to U Sports, D1 is stronger than U Sports. It is a stronger caliber because they're going to get the top guys that were playing Junior A or playing major juniors or playing USHL that wanted to go to school. They have a lot more NHL signings coming out of there than U Sports. It's also part of it is the seriousness or the way they take the game, right? Guys at D1, they're putting hockey before school. Yes, they're getting their education. Yes, they're getting good grades, but their main focus is to be a hockey player and try to sign a professional contract. Whereas at the U Sports level, most of these guys are getting an education to go to work, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it just shows the difference in seriousness is a difference in output on the ice. And same with the D3 level. Once guys get to the D3 level, I would say the majority of them are looking to get their education to pursue a career afterwards, rather than trying to focus on playing professional. There's still tons of players from D3 that want to try to play professional, and they'll start in the SPHL and move their way up, but that's the main difference. When you're coming out of college hockey Division 1, the players coming out of there are going to start in the American League, maybe the East Coast. D3, they start in the SP if they do go pro. So there's 2 different levels coming into the game and then leaving it as well. And again, I want to emphasize that there is some top level Division 3 programs that could compete at the D1 level and have unbelievable hockey players. And that trickle down effect is the same thing at the ACHA level. There's a handful of ACHA D1 programs that are as good as D3 programs, if not better. They could play there, but they just don't for NCAA guidance rules, whatever it may be. They decide to stay ACHA or they decide to stay NCAA D3. So this is not for the top programs. This is for the mid-level, if you're going to average it out, equal to equal. The second big difference between NCAA D1 and D3 is the facilities or the overall experience. What I mean by that is you go to a D1 campus, you go to a place like Penn State, North Dakota, Minnesota, whatever you say, the bigger programs, you're walking into multi-million-dollar facilities. The rinks are huge, packing the barns. Their locker room looks like an NHL facility. Their gym, each guy has their own stall. Their gym equipment is next level to make sure they have everything they need to train to get better, to perform and get to that next level. They have nutritionists, they have team chefs. Just their recovery rooms is a huge difference. Cold tubs, hot tubs, access to athletic trainers. The way they're treated is like an NHL player. They have that full experience to make sure that they can perform day in, day out. Whether it's nutrition, supplements, the recovery room, the lounge where they can do video or hang out and spend their time at the rink, right? Part of the reason reason these teams put so much into their facilities is because they want the guys to never want to leave, right? If you're there, you enjoy there, you hang out in the room, do your work, then you get on the ice, take some shots, you come back and do a workout, then you got team practice later. They want to make it as appealing that you just want to spend the day at the rink. And they pump millions of dollars into these facilities. Whereas at the D3 level, it's much smaller. The campuses are smaller. The funding for the program is much, much less, and it shows in their facilities. Some of them still have great facilities, nice hockey rinks, nice locker rooms, gyms, and all that. And some of them, unfortunately, don't have the nicest facilities or the nicest rooms or access to those extra nutrition programs, those nutrition supplements, access to ATs at all times of the day. Some of them don't have that. And obviously, those are small factors, but if you add them all together, it makes a difference for a hockey player, right? If I have access to a rink 24 hours a day, I have ATs that I can go see whenever I need, whether it's a stretch, a rollout, something hurt because of the way I slept. They make sure to get me back to 100% as quick as possible. Then I have the right nutrition, I have the right supplements so that I'm not tired, because we're in the gym every day for an hour and a half, we're on the ice for 2 hours. It adds up. But our recovery is there. We have the cold tubs, the hot tubs to make sure we're taking care of our body. It adds up over time. That lets the player be 100% for longer, rather than the guy who doesn't have access to this. The third one is the recruitment process. NCAA Division I programs primarily focus on securing top-level players as young as possible. Now, what I mean by that, 15, 16 years old, the top players in the country are gonna get committed. Roughly 70 to 80% of those top players are committed at a younger age, 15, 16, 17, and 20% of the players are committed at an older age, 19, 20. And that's okay because, some players at 15, 16, 17, weren't at that level they needed to be, but at 19 or 20 took a step and showed that they deserve to be Division I hockey players, and that is perfectly fine. But the numbers do show that in past statistics. And again, these are statistics we got from reputable websites. These are not personal opinions. Coaches can start officially speaking to players January 1st of their 15-year-old season and commit players as early as August 1st of their 15-year-old season. Lower end Division I programs often don't attain these top 15, 16-year-olds and will recruit older players, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, just like Division III programs do. They have a similar recruitment style. What I mean by that is Division III coaches recruit later because everybody wants to play D1. And at 19, 20, that's when you start realizing, okay, I'm more of a D3 player. The goal of D1 is out of reach. I'm not going to make it there, and that's perfectly fine again. So they go after 19, 20-year-olds. And lower end D1 programs will do the same. They'll get more late bloomers than those early top prospects of 16. And again, this is all before the rule change that just happened with the CHL. That will completely change the recruitment game for everybody. The majority of D1 commits will come out of the 4 major junior leagues: WHL, QMJHL, OHL, USHL. Now, of course, the BCHL and then all the 2 other top junior A leagues will still get looked at, and same with the AJHL, but the majority of the recruits will come out of the 4 major junior leagues. Going back to the recruitment process, the top D1 programs will start looking at the younger players and trying to lock them in as soon as possible, knowing that their potential is as high as they expect. The lower end D1s will go for the late bloomers, and the D3s will go for the late bloomers. D3 will usually start with the tier 2 guys that were bubble D1. They're not sure if they're going to get a commitment or not. They're going to try to recruit those guys and get them committed. From there, they will work their way down to tier 3 guys and go get top tier 3 players who could have been tier 2 if there was more teams. And they work their way downward that way. Not everybody gets to play NCAA. A lot of players are forced to go ACHA. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. ACHA Division I is getting much stronger and is still very good hockey. And the last biggest difference, and this one's probably the most obvious, is the cost between the 2 programs. At the Division I level, you can get full scholarships. They are allowed to give you athletic scholarships. And now the NCAA even made that more real. Previously, until this year, you were allowed 18 full scholarships divided by an entire roster, and it could be unlimited. So you could have 36 guys, 46 guys, have as many as you'd like, and you had 18 full athletic scholarships divided by that. What that means is a player would apply to the school. He would get a academic scholarship, 5%, 10%, 50. And then the athletic coach can turn around and give him the difference to cover and make it a full scholarship, can give him a small percentage. It all depended on how bad he wanted you. And some coaches even went as far as, well, forget, we don't need you to get an academic scholarship. I'm giving you a full athletic scholarship because they really wanted you that bad. Now, this year, there is a new rule where if the team decides to opt into this, and again, they have the choice, they are permitted to have 26 full athletic scholarships, but they have a 26-man roster limit. So every player on the roster has a full scholarship. No need to get academic money, no need to worry about student loans when you graduate. You show up on a full athletic scholarship and you do your job. Now again, the schools have the choice to do this. The exceptions to these rules are the Ivy League schools. They have need-based financial aid for players with good enough grades. Because they're Ivy League, they're not allowed to give athletic scholarships, so they are just strictly need-based financial aid. So guys that are going to Princeton, Harvard, Yale, those guys are still going to come out with student loans, but when you graduate from a school like that, oftentimes you don't need to worry about your student loans because of the job that you're going to have coming out of school. At the Division 3 level, there is no athletic scholarships. There is academic scholarships and financial aid, need-based financial aid. So most guys at the Division 3 level are paying anywhere between 10 and 30K. There is exceptions. There is some guys that are going to pay more. There is some guys that are going to pay less. There is exceptions to this rule, but the majority, the standard, the average is between 15 and 30K per year USD. So the major difference between the two is at the D1 level, you could be going to school for free, come out of there with no student loans if you don't play pro. And at the D3 level, you won't be going to school for free. You're going to have a cost, unfortunately, which is why oftentimes at the D3 level, you see mostly American players and not always international students, just because the cost adds up and it's difficult to justify if it's much cheaper in your own country. Now, hopefully with the new rule changes, this may change. Maybe they can get some athletic money at the D3 level, even if it's just a little bit to help the players out. Since the CHL is now permitted, it would be a nice feature to add that to the D3 level and give more players the opportunity to play at the NCAA level and make it more affordable as well. Now, obviously, these are just 4 of the many different factors we can go into. Again, this video could have been 3 hours long. You may have a different opinion. You may have different criteria you're looking at, and that's perfectly fine. Let us know the criteria you're looking at in the comments down below. But these are 4 of the major ones that we get talked to about the most from families, from players, from coaches. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this gave you a little more information between NCAA D1 and D3. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll see you guys in the next video.